8, 7, 6. Right, welcome back everybody to McRaeathon 2022. Up next we have Art of Rally by, is it Irdes? Is that how you pronounce it?
It's Irdes.
Irdes.
I came up with that name.
Take it away.
I came up with that name before I spoke English, so any pronunciation is valid enough. But I appreciate you asking.
No worries, I'll let you take it away then. Floor is yours.
Yes, I will just do one final thing, which is to reset the collectibles and also show off the wonderful thing is that this game allows you to run the pride flag as your country flag. And anyway, so let's get started. We'll be running the Group B, and I used to run. Wait, okay, yeah, there it is. I got a little confused in it, but yes. In this run, I do the collectibles run because the free roam is persistent and the collectibles are in the same spots. I'm not yet confident enough to run actual rally categories. And the timer will start when I start moving. I'll give a countdown, but I'll get a little more into it as we go. So are we all ready?
Yep, we're all ready to go.
Okay, in that case, 3, 2, 1, go. I find it interesting that the first Group B car this game gives you is the 6R4 Metro, which was not exactly known for its success. It's just really sort of the odd one out, and especially considering I think it's one of the only naturally aspirated Group B rally cars. Basically, the idea behind it, from what I know, was that the engineers figured that they wanted to avoid turbo lag, and by the most radical approach ever by avoiding turbos. And so it has at the time, cutting-edge V6, which is naturally aspirated. Sadly, it was developed, I think, a little too late, so it didn't really get a chance to compete much. But it has a dramatic front wing. It's not even really, it's quite Pikes Peak-esque, if you ask me. I just love this game for having a lot of less than well-known rally history. There's a lot more than just the 6R4. For example, there's a lot of cars in this game that I've never really seen in other rally games, such as the Skoda 130, or actually even the brave jump. But that was the smoothest jump I've made before. This one always seems to be a little tricky. But yes, it's just, and also this game is just so pretty. Even if I'm, you didn't see that. I should focus on my driving. This game is pretty even when it's running on these potato settings. So, and yeah, the collectibles we have are, you can see them in the lower right. There's 16 collectibles per level. I just had to do double check my math for a second. There are the letters that spell rally, which usually unlock your next free roam map. There are the photos because you need to take in the view. Yeah, right. And there are the 5 tapes that unlock a new song off of the soundtrack. And the special one, the van, is the developer's van, which you just have to say hi. The interesting thing is, because there's no any restrictions in free roam, this run is entirely just up to your own routing, and I actually even have pace notes written down next to me. I'm not sure I will need to use them, but writing down pace notes feels nice, and you know, it's like writing down a cheat sheet. like, just doing it helps. Not necessarily that you need the cheat sheet. Okay. Finland is going along smoothly. Ooh. Okay. Okay. Interesting thing is, it has a decently, I wouldn't say realistic like sim, but it's a realistic driving model. It looks harder than it's harder than it looks. Oh, also, again, I should focus on my driving, not talking. To that, because I am still going to talk. Ooh. Oh, okay. Pretend we didn't see that either. Okay. So, I prefer the Freeroam Collectibles run because it's persistent and so it's a little easier to learn. And another thing about routing here is that some letters are placed in the air, so you actually need to consider the direction. Because we have to take this jump to take the L in more ways. That was a recurring joke with my friends when I started running this game, in that because there's whole 2 L's in the spelling of rally, you have to take the L multiple times during a rally, which is poetic and quite fitting. Okay. Oh. So yes, the photo things, they stop you immediately, but also, yeah, you have to. I have lost a few runs to just not pressing enter in time and just flying by. There's another little glitch associated with them that I hopefully will avoid because it loses time. If you try to spam escape to get out of the photo quickly, the game actually locks your controls until you press it again. I'm not exactly sure what happens, but just, it's a weird thing. It doesn't lose that much time, but it's easily avoidable, so I try to avoid this. Also, another brave jump coming up, because... Ooh. That was pretty smooth, all things considered. Okay, and now look. That's the last photo. And also, while usually the soundtrack is entirely random, when you can collect the 5 cassettes, the game switches you to the track you just unlocked, so we'll have a pretty set soundtrack from here on out. Although I really recommend people to actually get the soundtrack, because it's a solid 4 hours long of music entirely for this game. And it's all this beautiful little synthwave, I guess. Not exactly sure what to call it. But it's mostly synthwave, and also one special track that you will get to see later. Also, this is it for Finland. Go to menu, and now we're moving on to the next stage. Freeroam, San Pietro Island. In Italy. Wait, Spain. My bad. This one is done in I do in the Quattro because This is also one of the few games that has the A1 Quattro, the long wheelbase one. The early one that is based on the early Quattro they did in the testing. And this specific livery is also kind of special because this both the A1 Quattro is famous for Michelle Mouton, the first female driver that almost won a Group B championship, and as Walter Roll admits, she lost the championship to Roll by 1 point, and Roll admit that, you know, in hindsight, probably should have let her have it, so that she would be the woman that conquered Group B, but sadly, he said that back in the 80s he was just a little too hot-headed and full of himself. But nevertheless, there's not a lot of games that have the early Quattro. They almost universally have the S2 Quattro, the late one with the big wings and the short wheelbase, which they did in response to seeing the 205's success. And also, if you notice, usually the Quattro in the games comes with specifically the S2 version, and specifically the Walter Roll livery, and sometimes not even a way to edit it. Because for some reason Audi isn't really proud of Michelle, despite Michelle campaigning for safety after the end of Group B.
If I'm not mistaken, was it the Delta S4 that killed him?
Yeah, the Delta S4 killed Henry Toivonen, and yeah. From what I have heard is, back in the day there were no really regulations on roll cages, and Lancia was trying to save everything they could, and save they did. The pictures are pretty terrifying, and also the footage is confusing because it doesn't look like his style to just completely miss a corner. And also, the other terrifying fact is, back then, Rally was less organized in terms of safety. Because if you watch that video, there is no really organized marshals, and Henry, like, even though Henry was not really, couldn't be helped after he drove off that cliff, still, it took over, I think over 20 minutes for help to show up. And that's why, since then, Michelle was one of the people that campaigned for safety standards and regulations. And this is why nowadays Rally has the much tighter marshalling, and it has much stricter regulations on roll cages and other safety equipment. The other additions that are less known in the light of Group A. People always talk about Group A as if it's just a cut in power, but it was much more than that. It was a big restructure on the bigger scale.
Not so like with all the different groups of cars we had. Group B was the height of the rallying sequence back in the 80s. And then I think was it Group N or Group A first?
Group N was from what I know, Group N was the almost factory stock, which I think they had minimal adjustments, like actually fitting a roll cage and just doing the minimal safety stuff. But yes, I'm so sad that the NR4 group was recently, well, quote-unquote, recently cut. And, yeah. Scary thing is, the new rally pyramid, as the FIA calls it, with the Rally 1 at the top, they announced that for Rally 1, they are allowing the manufacturers to actually even change the proportions of the body, which pretty much means they're silhouette racers. And if that doesn't speak Group B to you, I don't know what does. I'm kind of having mixed feelings on Rally 1 right now, but I am watching sort of with some interest, seeing where it develops. Because it's kind of running away in the same direction of being unapproachable because the professional rally cars right now they don't even look. I know that even Group A cars have little to do with road cars, but they at least looked somewhat stock. Well, not somewhat stock, but somewhat like the road-going counterparts. Nowadays, getting into rally is pretty hard. And it's becoming a less tangible sport. Which I think was one of the heights of rallying. That it was this very tangible sport on real roads with cars that look like something you could drive sometime.
Shame really, like Group B with the way it ended.
Honestly, Group
I mean,
B.
it could have gone anyway, didn't it? But
Yeah.
It was getting really dangerous. I mean, I know you mentioned then, like the footage from the old Group B days was mental. Like you'd see. I mean, most notably, I think it was Walter Roll.
Yeah.
I think it was Portugal or something, and he comes over this hill, and it's nothing but spectating. You think,
yes, it's just a sea of spectators.
But they separate all. Obviously, thank God that they've all got common sense and everything.
Yeah.
They all separate, and the Audi just goes through. But it was that. If that doesn't prove how crazy Group B.
Even if nothing like happened, it didn't hit anybody. What mental stress must it be to consider that if you mess up, there are a lot of human lives at stake that rely on you not making a mistake. There's one thing endangering yourself, maybe endangering your team's chances at a podium, but there's a completely different sense when the entire roadside is people.
Also, have we got time for a quick donation?
Absolutely, because we're going to change the level right now anyway, because we're just having to tap the van.
Okie doke. So we have a $20 donation from Brian Ack. So the guy you just saw running Sega Rally 2 and Distance, with the comment, "Thanks again for having me as a runner. Let's reach €100. Also, good luck to, forgive me if I say it incorrectly again, Irdes, how do you say it again?
Irdes.
Irdes. For his Art of Rally Run." So,
okay.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Oh wait, right. I just want to turn it below in the Discord because it's a little loud over the game.
Yeah,
a little not loud enough over the game. Anyway, so let's go on and this time it's Japan. And a 2 of 5. The thing that decrowned the Quattro with being mid-engined and nope. First we have to. There is a collectible right behind the start, and I hate that because it's a very awkward turnaround because the roads are very narrow. And I try to rush it, and also, of course, it puts me in the wrong direction. But yes. Funny thing, when I usually run this game, the first question I always get is that a Trueno, because vaguely, if you look at a low resolution from behind, this is a white and black car. And it's running in the Japanese sort of like switchbacks. Extra ironic since the game actually has a Trueno, which is not stock and it's turbocharged, but I guess in reference to. And it also makes sense because the developer of this game, Fun Selector, the previous game of them was Absolute Drift, which was in this. And so the Trueno in this game is actually labeled as the original. This game entirely. Yeah.
Go on. No, go on. I'll let you finish.
All the cars in this game are sort of have the quote-unquote fake names because just general likeness, and so they all have their own names, like this being told to 502, and as I said, like the Trueno is labeled as the original because that was the developer's original first game. So you were saying?
So we've actually had a question from Chotu asking how many locations are in this game.
There are currently 6 different rallies, I guess, the countries. We are currently on, there are Finland, then Spain, then Japan, then Norway, then Germany, then in the last update, Kenya was added, and there actually is a new update coming, and that was announced recently, Indonesia.
Funny thing is as well, so mentioning Indonesia with rallying is actually quite interesting because
Yeah, I love that they're going for less represented rallies.
It's not just that, but it's also, it reminisces me of, well, for me personally, it reminisces, what's it called? Colin McRae Rally, the first one, because coincidentally, where we actually started our event. But it's actually like a unique little twist, not twist, a unique little story I can kind of provide for this one. So when I saw the announcement saying it yourself for Indonesia, I thought, oh, that's going to be interesting. For 2 reasons. First of all, it's Indonesia, as you said, it's a country that's not really represented in the rallying scene. But then the second one being, the last time this was seen in any rally game, I believe, was Colin McRae Rally, or V-Rally 2, I think, maybe? But basically, Indonesia is not a country that's had an actual rally. Funnily enough, there was actually supposed to be one. Those that aren't sure, there was supposed to be one in 1997 or 98, and I think it was something like, yes, it was like 97 or 98, and it got postponed. So it's an interesting one. Like, they never actually had a rally. I can't remember why. Maybe to do with sponsorship or something. But yeah, it was a bit of a farce, really. It's a shame it's never come back.
Honestly, it's a really interesting addition to, because this game is entirely with the cars. It's already a what-if scenario. It's interesting that it's now a what-if scenario with the level as well. I never knew that it was actually scheduled to be.
Yeah, I think it was. So it was on the 1997 schedule, and it was supposed to run in October, November before Rally GB, I think it was. But it never ran. It got postponed at the last minute, I think. Or well, I say the last minute. Like, I think it was on the provisional calendar for '97, and I think it got halfway through the year, and they were like, "Oh yeah, something happened, and the event didn't actually run." So yeah, but funnily enough, it stayed in Colin McRae Rally 1 because they went off the official schedule. So the rally got put into that game. All the stages were designed off what they thought was going to be the stages at the time, and it wasn't.
I mean, arguably, you can probably argue that the tropical stages in Sega Rally 2 could also be sort of maybe called the. I don't remember whether they called it tropical or muddy, but they do sort of maybe look the part. And it would make sense because they were also made around '97.
Actually, I tell a lie. Rally Indonesia was actually on the calendar. 1996 it was on the calendar. I think it was '97 when it disappeared.
But yeah. Also, watch the switchbacks, because this is exactly why the 205 started dominating against the Quattro, because the Quattro was not a small car. Ooh, also, I say that as I smack it to the barrier. Also, the genius of the 205 of realizing that it's hard to sell a sporty coupe, but it's much easier to sell a Super Mini that anybody can afford. Because the 205, it was a much more this Road 205 was much more affordable than the Road Quad. Oh god.
So to go back on what I said, by the way, sorry, just for Rally Indonesia.
Fair.
So it was run in 1996 and 1997. They planned to run it in 1998, but it was cancelled due to a political crisis that happened that year. That was what I got wrong. I knew there was something for it being cancelled. But the funny thing is, to kind of stick with the story, is I was kind of right. So they had, the event obviously was cancelled in real life, but in the game it was still there. So in Colin McRae Rally 1, you still do Rally Indonesia, even though the calendar in that game is based off the 1998 season. But
I mean, the game is not certified by FIA, so like they're not. So like it wasn't even like it was loosely based on the calendar. So it's not like they could. They just went with what they have made. Also, ooh, that's what I get for cutting.
And it hasn't run in the WRC since 1997 either. It's run a national series and in the Asian Pacific Rally Championship most years. Last time it was run was 2019. Apparently it's not been held since, but then again, yeah, you know, stick around. There could definitely be another one, I'm sure.
Well, anyway, I'm very interested in this game and what else they have in store, because honestly, even riding Rally Kenya was interesting because it's also it's more represented in Indonesia, but it's also like not the super common choice.
I mean, they could do with adding Rally UK, but then again,
they couldn't. Listen, they code Masters UK. They couldn't. They could not. So I understand it from Colin McRae Rally, but they had to.
I mean, then again, the Dirt series now belongs to EA, so considering all the locations that Dirt has got, well, how many?
I mean, I would say that it's got, but at the same time, Dirt now no longer has Rally.
Well, I mean, if you go off the last game they made, I'd say that's definitely a good point.
Yeah, which is why I'm at least glad Dirt Rally 2.0 actually sort of held the honor of being a namesake to Colin McRae Rally 2.0. It was a straight improvement, like Seymour, like Seymour 2.0 was a straight improvement over. Come on, okay. That was just like Seymour 2.0 was a straight improvement, so was Dirt Rally 2.0. One thing I'm sad about is that they removed Pikes Peak, but probably licensing. But oh well. Okay, also I'm gonna be a little quiet because there's I want to line this jump up because I almost got it last time at Fastest Furs, and no, I overshot. I still get the skip. It's just in practice I can sometimes land precisely on the road. I still can't get it consistently so that it can look nice. But yes, certified Toivonen moment. Although I guess I should have been driving the Delta then. But
I mean, I do have to admit, considering what Fun Select has been able to do with this game and the updates that are coming, I kind of wonder when. I mean, obviously we've had, as everyone knows, we've had obviously Absolute Drift, we've had Art of Rally. I wonder what the next one's gonna be. I mean, is he gonna do another Art of Rally? The question is really,
I think he's gonna
can you see him doing a second one of these?
I think he's gonna keep working on Art of Rally first for a while. Also, this is gonna be a fun one because this game has a dedicated Eurobeat track written specifically for the Japan, and it's gonna play for the next one.
I was gonna say it's not Japan unless it's Eurobeat.
It is, but sadly it's left over for. It is gonna play for us in Norway. I also forgot to change time of day. We're gonna be snowblind because this is. Okay, first off, dang it, wait. Right. I'm not sure why I just got cold feet for a second. But yes, there is an actual Eurobeat track, track in the game, which is unlocked in the Freeroam in Japan. Because Fun Selector knew what they were doing. Hey? Oh. Also, ooh, the RS200 is a little sketchy with it's very mid-engined. Also, the sad Eurobeat track is titled Do It for Takumi. Just to add to the whole.
I remember the Ford RS200. It was a car that was absolutely crazy when it came to Rallycross as well.
Oh yeah, I'm glad at least it found some use in Rallycross, because I adore this car, and I will actually show you the next time we change stages. I will show you something special, because this also because again, this is a game that features a lot of what ifs. It also has the precursor to the RS200.
The funny thing is as well, I don't know if people know this,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure you do. Yeah, long story short, if you flip the cars over, they have messages on the bottom.
Yep.
So like toy cars, and I think this is a really cool little Easter egg that you can see. Like if you happen to flip one over and use the
yes, and you will probably see it because there are a few more jumps coming up in this stage even, and you probably saw the words on other cars, because I think I have flipped a bunch of them before. I definitely flipped the Metro, but I guess the gun was tipped, so you couldn't really see much. The 205's one says Pug. Oh. Also, yes, the spectators always dodge out of your way. That's the explanation as to why Group B wasn't cancelled. The spectators just have better agility, that's it. But as I was saying, this game actually also has the precursor to this car, which was the I believe it was called the Escort RS 2000. Because they initially tried to develop on the platform of the Escort RS Turbo. They wanted to develop a rear-wheel drive Group B car, but it was like in development right as the Quattro did its Quattro thing, and so they were like, well, sorry Escort, we have to go all-wheel drive, and it was scrapped. And actually a lot of the parts, some of the parts are still shared with the RS200. I think the tail lights are, among other things. But yes, they wanted to come back to, despite the fact that they had the Sierra Cosworth I think they already had it planned. They wanted to stick to the Escort name, but then they... Oh! There, this one says Kazi. Can I flip over? Yes! You could slightly see it. Also, hide the phone selector. This is that terrible part why I usually change my time of day, because this part, against the morning sun, you're literally snowblind. You cannot see the road at all. Ooh. Nice. Usually goes. Oh, no. That's the other part. The off-road is actually bumpy. So you are actually... There's no sticky... Oh, okay, wait. This is wrong direction. This is where I'm supposed to be going. That's the other part about running Freeroam. Freeroam respawns you in any direction, because there's no literally specified correct direction. Sometimes it takes a little some thinking if you have to reset. Take the L. never a smooth run. I am a little too cautious with the Irdes toner. It kind of has a very mid-engine feel to it. It's not quite. Okay. Oh, man, snowbanks are tough to spot. I guess we'll run this. We'll loop the other direction. That works out. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about when I say it's very mid-engine. It snaps back pretty hard. Curiously enough, the other cars don't probably do as much. Okay, just we'll check in the map that I'm back correct. Come on. And that's Norway. And, okay. Now we're on to Germany, which is one of the most troubling ones for me. Because it is just, significant bit tougher. Oh, there it is, the Kazi. Here it is. It was the RS-17. Yeah, it was 1700. And I like the flavor text the game gives because it's always written in a very funny way. Yeah, it was a rear-wheel drive version designed for Group B. After it was finished and homologation units were being built, the arrival of the Quattro made the need for an all-wheel drive car, and so this was a short-lived project. Some of them are like series like this, some of them are more on the humor side. So, but yeah, anyway, this time we're driving the S4, and also I like how it references the myth about how Toivonen drove an F1 circuit and set a time that could compete with within like 10 seconds of F1, which is actually not true, but it makes for a fun story. Also, you get glorious supercharger whine in this. And the flutter, because the Delta S4 is twin-charged. As far as I know, one of the very few cars that were twin-charged ever.
Just a quick question.
Yes?
Do you know if the Nissan 240 RS is in this?
I think it was, I'm not sure if it's the 240 or I think it's a Silvia 240, I think one of the Silvias was added,
The only reason I mention it is because that was in 1985 and that was a Group B car.
I know that there is a Nissan-based one. I'm not sure if it's a Nissan or a Datsun. I will show you next time we change cars because there is one. I think it's based on the Silvia 240 though. No, there's two different ones. There's one in-game named the Hyena in Group B, which is based on I think a Silvia 240, like an early one. And also, this is a very hard L to take. And I missed it. Of course, marathon luck. I never once got it the first time on a stream because this one just takes a lot of speed and aiming. And there's another Nissan that was added in the Kenya update, which is nicknamed the Gazelle. And it's actually here in Group 4. that's what I like about this game. It has a bunch of lesser-known art, rally stuff.
If I'm not mistaken, the big stones are at the side. They were like headstones or something they were called, weren't they?
They're not headstones as far as I know. From what I know, these were put back in the wartime as an anti-vehicle device. Which
Yeah,
you
stone,
could argue that they still do the anti-vehicle part very successfully. If you run into them at speed, yeah, that's a DNF.
The funny thing is, actually, now that we mention it, is for those that don't know, or including yourself if you've not seen it, but there was I think it was Rally Germany 2005 or something. Peter Solberg smashed into one of these at speed. Like, he'd only just started the rally stage. I don't remember what stage it was or anything, but it was Rally Germany, and Rally Germany, I don't know if it's the same now, but back then there was a lot of these I think they're called anti-tank stones or something. They were meant to stop tanks
there's probably a proper name for them, but I will be honest that I don't really remember it.
Or as you can give them the proper name, I guess, if there is. If I think they're called.
There is one, but I can't recall it off the top of my head.
But yeah, long story short. So for those that don't know, so Peter Solberg hit one of these at speed, and we're talking like 90 or 100 miles an hour, and it ripped the back wheel off completely. The entire back of the car just got completely ripped off because it just stopped the car dead. Like the entire car itself was just ripped.
Yeah.
Like the back axle, everything ripped off. And I think it even hit, I think as if lightning doesn't strike twice, I think either a couple of years later or a year after, the same thing happened. Not the same spot, but he had a big off at high speed, or it was somebody else possibly. But basically the passenger side door went into that stone, and the damage it caused was ridiculous. It didn't kill the co-driver, I was wondering. Don't worry, it's not in. By this point, rallying was a bit more safe. Not that rallying's always had that reputation for being unsafe anyway, but back in that day, or back then anyway, it was a lot safer anyway. A little bit safer. I mean, it's more safe now than it was then, but you know what I mean. Yeah, he ends up that this car smashed into one of these, what I'll call a tombstone.
Yeah, that's what they're nicknamed anyway.
And the damage it did to the passenger side, it's lucky that the guy got out. Like, the co-driver did get out. I think he did have a few injuries, but it crumpled the side of the car in, and it was like, how the hell did you walk away from that? Again, safety, but if that happened, if we had these back in the 80s, I have no doubt people would have died a lot.
Oh yes,
like,
absolutely. They're still, the stones are still there, and they're still doing their anti-vehicle function.
Yeah, exactly. This is the scary part. Like, the fact that they're still there is terrible.
Yeah, and anybody who drove their car at speed knows that the tunnel vision you get at speed. And when you know that the sides of the tunnel are not just walls, but separate stones, each of which can just stop you dead in your tracks.
I mean, like we were saying though, if one of these stones can stop a tank, what's it gonna do to a rally car? Which
exactly,
and sheet metal and everything. I mean, don't forget, for those that don't know, with rallying, rally cars are they're a lot thinner than you might think, because obviously saving weight, you're trying to get maximum amount of power out of the car, etc. If it can rip a tank which weighs tons and
not tens of tons. Tens of tons, more like.
Not tens of tons, but yeah,
tanks,
way,
tens of tons.
A tank, yeah. If it can stop a tank dead, and that's tens of tons, what's it going to do to a car that weighs less than a ton? Or
yeah, like rally cars are often not even a ton. Like, I think it was since the Group A regulations that they are regulated to be, I think, 1100, 1200. But they could easily get under a ton in, like, less restricted categories.
The funny thing is that you mentioned about the what ifs as well before.
Yeah.
Is it Group S that's in this?
Group S is in this, and it's I like the way this game puts this. The best way to describe Group S is what would happen if you could get F1 kind of money into Rally and make prototypes instead of homologated like, specials.
Basically, how crazy can you go with a rally car? I think the easiest way to sum up the Group S cars is imagine if you're in Gran Turismo or Forza nowadays. Anyway, imagine you're in one of those games and you build a car, you buy I don't know, you buy like a Subaru Mitsubishi, no, something, an old rally, an old ex rally car from there. You buy one of them and then you spend God knows how much money. I mean, people know what I'm on about. When you go on Forza online or something, there's always
Forza. I will still say that Forza's, especially the drivetrain swaps in Forza were a mistake, and they're still doing damage to racing games as a genre.
But basically, that's the easiest way I can explain Group S. It's basically, say you were given a crap ton of money, you bought one of these cars, you went way higher than what any other car could do traditionally.
The other way I could put it is, think about how like some of the street cars still tout. Also, this is Germany, and we're on to the last one, Kenya. Think about how some cars are still, to this day, proud of times like 0 to 100 in 5 seconds. They're proud of this today. When okay, first off, I wanted to ask. There is which I think is this, not the King of Africa, the hyena. There it is. The Sylvia base 240.
The King of Africa looks like it, but the hyena also looks
the King of Africa is the Toyota Celica Twin Cam.
I was gonna say that hyena one. That's definitely it.
That's the Nissan.
Yeah.
It's the. I think it's not the 240SX. It's the I think it's before that. But also there was the Datsun. This one is definitely based on the Datsun. I don't remember what also I'm not sure if it correctly says V6. I think it was an i6. i5. i4. Yeah. I just said everything. Anyway, we're gonna be doing the 559.
Okay,
yes.
911.
Yeah. The 959. The 959, actually.
Oh, actually, yeah. Sorry, it was one of the 959 Dakar or something.
Yes, because Porsche were developing a car for Group B. Group B was closed, so they decided, so what do we do with this homologated, straight-ready car that, what do we do with this? Well, we decar it, obviously.
I love the fact that Porsche was like, well, and a lot of other people are like, wait, I've never seen a Porsche rally car. Yeah, they do exist.
That's the thing, and they were very successful. The only reason Alpine, I'm still not sure on that one. The only reason the Alpine, the A110, it's actually very unlucky because it's been a lot longer around than 73. But here's the unfortunate thing. It existed, I think, between 66 and 74. From 66 to 69, it was dominated by the original 911, and it couldn't win. Then, in 1970, it gets their victory. They get a victory in 71, and 72. And then the Stratos comes around. So, the A110 had a it's a lovely car, but it had a very short time in the limelight. Just overshadowed, just upstaged by two other excellent cars.
I was just going to say, like, when you think of specific eras for rallying, or, well, decades even for rallying, for me, the 70s always stands out as the decade of the Lancia Stratos, or Stratos, how do you call it?
Yeah, Stratos.
The 80s was obviously just Group B, but that was a mix between the Audi Quattro, the 205, the RS200, less the RS200, the Delta S4, and so on. Then the 90s was for me all Group N and Group A stuff. Especially like in my opinion, I don't think there's one thing that Group B can't do.
Yeah.
That the Group A era did do better, and it was create some of the most iconic and really great-looking cars of the WRC's history. I don't think there's anything that's even come remotely close, especially given. I mean, yeah, okay. Nowadays we have a lot more safety. There's not, you can't go flat out. You've got like Hyundai and stuff, but for me, they don't hold the same wow factor that the cars back in the 90s ever held.
Yeah, because
speaking.
there's something very special because they look so familiar. Like, they don't look crazy, and also, just let's address the fact that in Group A, the two biggest contenders, Mitsubishi and Subaru, and actually the Lancia as well, because with the Integrale, the three biggest contenders were four-doors.
And Toyota had the Celica, I think, as well.
Celica was a scoop. Celica was a coupe. Celica was still a two-door.
Four-door Celica, to be fair.
Okay, never mind. I think, yeah. I'm hoping I don't mess this up, and there are no collectibles there that I missed and will regret. I haven't practiced this as much because usually in runs, this is the first rally that gets the cut. This is the shortest one. But also this means if I miss something, we'll get a little backtrack in true rally fashion. But I want to say that the interesting part about Group A, like the 90s era for me, was that there were a scramble for rules, and there were so many interesting... I love the idea behind the F2 kit cars, because they literally were... I still can't get over how the 306, you can still think that, you know, that's just a game thing, how the 306 Moxie can beat Group A WRC cars. But it did. The little dinky front-wheel drive hatchback did beat the best. Because, guess what? First off, okay, I didn't forget to take that L. I had a couple runs die to that specific L. Oh, that was painful. But it was actually a real thing. The 306 Moxie regularly beat the big boy four-wheel drive cars on tarmac stages.
I remember it being very handy at the hands of Joe Panizzi.
Yeah, the interesting part is, one of the things is that Group A has a rule on how high the cars can rev. F2 kit cars does not, and that was what Peugeot blatantly exploited. They decided, you know what? We have engines that can rev to 11k. This will rev to 11k.
I always found it funny how like most notably the main two rallies that the two-wheel drive Peugeot were always good at was the Rally de Corse, was it Tour de Corse, the Corsica rally.
Corsica, yes.
Rally San Remo in Italy.
Yes.
They always absolutely blitzed the big boys. I remember because there was like you said, there was an outcry from the bigger guys, you know, from I don't mean like Colin McRaeathon stuff.
Yeah, WRC was WRC. I think they literally said that no, we can't have that because we can't have our top of the line cars lose to the smaller categories, especially consistently lose. Also, time is coming up, and time. That is the last collectible, and also let me drive out of the lake, actually. But yes, that was Art of Rally, and it's 6 environments. Well, no, currently 6. Sorry I didn't warn you about this earlier. We just kind of managed to have a conversation. But yeah, that's that for Art of Rally. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, so altogether it was a 52-35 for that
52!
run. Yeah.
I am not sure how, because this is better than my personal best, and I have messed up a bunch. I guess I did have a more or less clean German where I only missed, I did get the R on my first try, and I took the L on my second. The one that usually trips me up a lot.
What was it called? My timing might be slightly out because when I started it, when you first entered the first area, it didn't start when it said go.
Oh.
So you might be like 3 seconds faster than that.
Point is still that this is minutes better than my previous PB for all stages. Yeah, because nice. I don't practice the whole run. I like it back to back that often. Individual PBs I probably can put together like a better time, but this is the best I had in terms of. Also, I love the in-depth photo mode, which actually lets you put on manual focus and manual focus distance.
I was going to say, it's actually interesting as well, for those that don't know as well, and I think this might be something you mentioned, is that the gallery, the art, I say the art, but the filters and stuff that you can stick on the photographs and the photographs you can create on this look amazing. It really shows how, I mean, for a game that came out, I think it was 2 years ago when this came out.
Okay,
and for a game that's alright, it's 2 years old, it's a modern game, but I'd say this does a pretty damn good job of like nailing the photo mode, really.
It has a sort of very interesting, almost toy-like look. It's just...
Yeah.
Also, one thing I really like that replicates the feeling of vintage race photography is adding brightness, but low exposure. Because back then, the only way was to have extremely short exposure to catch the motion, and that led to low exposure, a very short shutter delay, which gave you low exposure. And so a lot of them are added. They have brightness added in post, and so they look a little. They're colorful, but they are like this. They're like a little blown out. So yeah, that was Art of Rally. I thank you for posting, and thanks to everyone who watched this run. It was a pleasure, and yeah.
No worries. Thank you again for performing said run. It was very enjoyable, and obviously it was nice to have a good chat as well about rally and stuff. Yeah. So that's always a good fun.
It's been lovely.
What was I going to say now? Yeah, so I'm going to say with the next update that's coming out, that means this run's going to get even longer now, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to have to be like a pre-update for.
We'll see what I'll have to run for the next McRaeathon. I didn't see that there was not a lot of submissions with CMR. I might have just run Comic Rally literally too. So, but hey, until next time, I guess.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you again for performing the run, and just real quick as well before we go, have you got any closing thoughts before we?
The one thing I always say is, rally is important because it also teaches a very important lesson in that it's a motorsport that uniquely focuses not on result but on consistency. To finish first, you must first finish.
Cracking stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll end on that. That's a good one. Well.
Yeah, so I think on that note, we're going to head back over to a quick intermission, and then when we come back, we're going to have Redriver 2, aka Driver 2, by the Survivor, who's going to be doing the full game, the Warpless category. I'll let him explain why it's Warpless when we get around to the run. But thanks again for performing your run, we really appreciate it. And yeah, we'll be right back in the next couple of minutes with the next run. So stick around and don't go anywhere. See you soon.